I've apologised to members, to people who have come to our events about the role that I have played in some of that. So I wouldn't tell what our Welsh members should say when it comes to constitutional questions. I wouldn't say it to Scottish members either. That is for Scotland to decide. But whether your party supports independence or doesn't support independence is literally the decision of members to decide. It's disgusting, and it shows you how our media class and our politicians are rotten to the core. But what we see from this government is that the fish rots from the head.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new edition of the National Podcast. I'm joined in the studio by Zarah Sultana.
Thanks for having me.
Zarah is, for anyone that doesn't know, the formerly Labour MP for Coventry South, suspended not long after the general election for voting in support of removing the two-child cap. A year later, July this year, announced the creation of a new left-wing party with Jeremy Corbyn. That is provisionally called Your Party. We are still on that.
I mean, I want it to be called The Left, but members are going to decide, and I will support whatever they democratically choose, enthusiastically.
Fair enough. So for now, Your Party, The Left, whatever it might be. And Zara's joined us in Glasgow today. Thanks very much for coming up to Scotland, to Glasgow to see us, Zara. Just to start then, why have you come up? Unfortunately, it's not only to see us.
Well, it's also to hit Lazard's shawarma shop, which is a big treat for me. But we are here for a major rally we are holding in Glasgow, where we're expecting over 500 people to come and discuss this new left-wing socialist party that we're building. I love Glasgow. I've been a few times now, and the energy of this city, this working class city, is incredible. And we are here to provide a socialist alternative for communities to choose whenever an election comes, whether that's the MSP elections, the local elections, or the general election, which we expect around 2029.
So what are you hoping to get out of this meeting this evening then? Is it going to be like a kind of policy forum? Is it going to be establishing internal processes, or is it really just a talking shop?
So we have been holding events up and down the entire country. Yesterday I was in Worthing, I've been to Greenwich, Sheffield, Newcastle, all over the place. And this is the first Your Party rally in Scotland. So it's very exciting. And it is about building the base of the party, recruiting, talking about what we stand for, our policies. And then there will be regional assemblies that are being held across the country. In those meetings, members are looking over founding documents, which will be redrafted before they are voted at the national conference, which is at the end of November. So this is just to rally the troops, bring everyone together and talk about what we're building.
It seems like you are building quite a movement. 500 people is quite a lot for a party that doesn't even really exist yet. What are you thinking you're going to be telling these people?
Well, it's an incredible number. I'm told that we could have got 3 times as many people to attend. The appetite was there. It was sold out just from, I think, a single social media post. And that tells you that there is real excitement in the air for a new left-wing party that is truly democratic. I'm not here to build a Labour Party 2.0 with the same structures, the same treatment of its members who are just seen as people who just knock on doors rather than actually having a voice and shaping the democracy of the party. And what we are standing for is an explicitly socialist programme. We are anti-imperialist. We are the only anti-Zionist party in the UK. And obviously the key thing for Scotland is that the autonomy that this party will have means that its policies will be decided by Scottish members and it will be led by Scotland. It is not about MPs like me from England telling Scotland what they need or what they should be advocating for. It is truly going to be member-led.
I was going to ask about that because, I mean, you could kind of call it the Green model, where they have 2 completely different parties. It's maybe a bit confusing for people in the kind of lay public who have seen Zach Balansky come onto this main political stage at Westminster, even though he's not an MP, and are signing up to the Scottish Greens thinking he's great. But then they kind of find out, oh, actually, the parties aren't connected in any way. So when you say not Labour 2.0, you're not hoping to replicate what they've got, where they've got a Scottish leader, but really he just takes his orders from Westminster. But maybe the Scottish Green model of complete separation isn't right for you either. Is there some kind of middle ground there?
What we will build is a party that is quite clear about what we stand for, which is for renationalisation, for workers' rights, against all forms of austerity and privatisation, against war and genocide, so an explicitly socialist programme. And that will be consistent, whether it's your party in Wales, your party in Scotland, or your party in England. What we are saying is nations like Wales and Scotland should be able to have policy that is rooted in their communities. Obviously, there are issues that overlap. The levels of insecure housing crosses all borders, poor and poorly paid insecure work, poorly funded public services. All of these things affect us all, but there will be specific issues like the independence question in Scotland that is uniquely Scottish, and obviously there are questions that are happening within Wales as well. It is not appropriate for there to be a position that is dictated by Westminster. That has to be led by Scottish and Welsh members around devolution, around independence, what that looks like. But there will be issues that we can all agree on that can be universally applicable.
Yeah, so I suppose if you're kind of saying they'll have complete freedom as long as it's within this socialist framework,
Absolutely. We cannot have NSPs, we cannot have members of the Senate, we cannot have councillors in a part of England, Scotland, and Wales who pass austerity, who sell off public assets, who are part of an austerity agenda. There have to be red lines. Otherwise, what do you really stand for?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Obviously, the kind of internal processes will need thrashing out. It sounds like freedom within boundaries. That's ironically the rule I have for my dogs. But so the first news I actually saw this morning when I turned my phone on was a breaking news notification that there have been 3 defections here in Glasgow on the city council from the Greens to your party.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna start off with a bit of a tabloid question. Can you tell me the names of those councillors?
Yes, it's Lewis, it's Shona, and it's Dan.
Wow, very good. That's very good. Yeah, well done. We always have to ask.
I think we're in Lewis's we're in Dan's constituency in Govan right now, right?
Govan is just south of here, but you will have
nearby.
You will have come through it on the way here. Yeah, exactly. So that's a pretty serious group. 3 on the council. That's treble what the Tories have got. It's bigger than Reform UK. What can we expect to see from this group in Glasgow? What will be different from when they were Green councillors?
They are against austerity, they are against privatisation, and they believe in providing a socialist alternative. Obviously, the Greens and the SNPs have done great work while in government, but we have to be honest about that track record, which includes managing decline and pushing through cuts, especially to Scottish colleges. These Green councillors, former Green councillors, and now your party councillors are saying there is another choice to provide to the Scottish people, and that they are going to be leading that agenda and building that momentum from the bottom up.
I think the criticism that we're seeing levelled at Reform UK kind of across the country, really, that they're just Tories under a slightly different banner. We've got ministers from previous governments signing up and saying, we're going to bring change. Is your party not going to fall into a similar trap if you just end up with loads of Green defectors? It's just, well, you're that lot, slightly different.
No, I don't think it's comparable at all. This is a brand new political party, and what it is saying is that you have these other political parties, whether it's the Labour Party or any other, that might say all of these things, but in practice, if you look at their track record, you will see privatisation, you will see austerity, you will see complicity in genocide in Gaza, and it's about time there was a real alternative. And one of the slogans that I use quite often is, the billionaires already have 3 parties working for them. Isn't it about time the rest of us had one? And people who have expressed interest, over 800,000 people initially expressed interest, that tells you that there is an appetite for this, that something is missing within our political conversation and the offer that is presented to people across the UK. And that's what we're doing.
Is that a bit of a luxury of being a brand new party, though? You're able to say, well, we're not tainted by austerity. because not only have you never been in government, you've never even existed before. Whereas the Greens finally achieve their first ministers in the UK, 2021. I hope my year's right there. And now you're saying, well, they're tainted by being in government. Is there any way of being in government and not being tainted?
Yes, you have to stick by your politics and what the Scottish people have seen in the past when you had socialist party MSPs like Francis Curran, was the best legislation that came out of the Scottish Parliament, whether it was free school meals, whether it was equal marriage. All of this stuff came from having a strong left voice that held the SNP to account. And that's what we're calling for. We're calling for a real left voice that holds power to account, whether it's in Holyrood, whether it's in the Senate, whether it's in Westminster. And that's what we're building. And a new party that has generated this much excitement is unprecedented. Even I was surprised by the levels of interest that we managed to initiate. And everywhere I've gone, the rooms have been packed. The conversations have been, really exciting. People talking about sortition, people talking about all of these things that are quite niche.
Yeah, so what is sortition?
So sortition essentially is like a lottery process to make it fair for people to be able to attend conference, because you can't get 30,000-40,000 people. There are criticisms of it because if it's completely random,
you might not get to attend.
Exactly. But also, if you want to make sure that the most marginalized people are able to attend, then it's not just a whole load of white men who usually love to attend conferences and those sorts of things. That is an issue. And what I've been advocating for is a way so you can have sortition but allow people to have speaking rights even if they don't have voting rights at conference, and how we can make things more democratic. And given the democratic deficit that exists across Westminster, that exists across Holyrood, this is an opportunity to do things differently. And I'll give you a few examples. So at the Labour Party conference a few weeks ago, Labour Party members voted to recognise the genocide that's taken place and to stop all arms sales to Israel. A matter of days later, or actually not, because nothing changed, this Labour government has continued selling weapons to Israel, fueling genocide, and doesn't recognise a genocide. So people can just clap and then it doesn't mean anything. Equally with the Greens, MPs, councillors can vote with their conscience. They can do whatever they think is right. So you can pack a room and people can clap at amazing motion, amazing policy, but it doesn't mean anything because elected representatives don't have to uphold those. They're not binding. Conferences and sovereign. We are saying conference is sovereign. Votes and motions and policy is binding. And any elected representative is accountable to the membership. That looks like open selection, mandatory reselection, and the option to recall if your elected representative is not following the motions that conferences pass.
Yeah, I was literally just about to ask that, because we see it here in Scotland as well with the SNP quite often. The party conference will pass quite radical motions, and then the government will be like, that's party policy, but we're the government, we're separate. So conference is sovereign is a interesting approach to take. I wonder if
it's the most democratic approach.
Mm. So just to jump back slightly to the defections here in Glasgow, it wasn't only the councillors. You also had Ellie Gumsall join, who was number 2 on the Glasgow Greens list. She had been aiming to knock Patrick Harvey off and just fell short. Shona, who is a councillor, she was number 5 on the Scottish Greens list. So they're now obviously not going to be running for the Greens. Have you agreed some kind of deal with Ellie and Shona where they're going to top Your Party list?
So there will be conversations, but ultimately Scottish members will decide who runs and how that plays out. It is not appropriate for me to say, yes, Shona, Dan, Lewis, anyone else will be the candidates. That has to be done in a democratic way where members have the voice, members have the choice to be able to choose who their elected representatives are.
So there's not been any kind of backroom discussions where if you come over to Your Party, we'll put you in another.
I'm genuinely not interested in those kind of stitch-up backroom deals. I think that turns people off politics, and what they want to see is people being able to have an equal chance and an equal opportunity to represent their communities. And obviously, councillors that have already got an impressive CV obviously will stand out but we are a party for everyone, and anyone who wants to represent your party will be able to have the opportunity to do so.
So your party will definitely be standing candidates in the Holyrood elections next
We
year.
absolutely have to.
Are you going to be ready to? Is there going to be...
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. But so the launch of your party didn't exactly go smoothly. It's
Bit messy.
a path of political.
But this has never been done before,
I suppose.
and I've been talking to comrades in France, in Germany, and they all have told me that, you know, if left parties go through this period, right, usually at the start, where it's basically sorting out all of these issues, but it isn't something that has, turned people away. Many people are cautiously watching, but the rooms that I'm also going to, the events that I'm speaking at, the excitement is genuinely there. And I think we have a historic opportunity when we've got potentially a reform opposition in Holyrood, a reform government in Westminster in 2029, and all of us have to work together to stop that from happening.
Do you think that you've perhaps set the best example early on? I mean, you announced the launch of the party, it seemed, without Jeremy Corbyn knowing you were going to do it. A couple of weeks later, you were saying that there was a sexist boys' club. There were threats of legal action, defamation. It's not really been this kind of amorphous issue. Like, do you accept that you've had a role in the kind of destabilisation of the party?
Yes, I've apologised to members, to people who have come to our events about the role that I have played in some of that. Ultimately, we are all committed, me, Jeremy, to move forward, to build this party, to have our regional assemblies, to have a conference, and present an anti-imperialist, socialist, anti-Zionist party to the entire country. And that's what people are interested in. I know journalists love the psychodrama of, people falling out, all the gossip and so forth.
Yeah.
But people in our communities care about the poor housing they live in. They care about the fact that wages don't cover the bills. They care about, poor bus services. And that's the party that we're building. That isn't just an electoral offer. It is really building the social base that has been weakened over the past few decades, recognizing that power truly lies in our trade unions, in our tenants unions, and you've got Living Rent up here in Scotland. It lies in our climate movement and the fight for Palestinian liberation. It's about unifying all of these struggles and working in communities, fighting campaigns, standing on the picket line, mobilizing when the fascists come into our towns and cities, but not just doing that, also fighting electorally, because you've got to fight on both of those sides.
So just to go back to the kind of founding of the party, I suppose, when you announced, it was July the 3rd this year, I believe. I've read a lot. I believe I've even written that the party was going to be co-led by you and Jeremy. But when I was actually reading back the statement, I think maybe that's been overwritten by journalists like myself. And what you were actually saying is that you were going to co-lead the founding of the party rather than co-lead the party.
Yes.
So if members elect a single leader, and Jeremy or yourself, we take
or anyone else
on
that.
That'll be an upset.
That's democracy. So the founding documents at the moment are proposing a sole leader structure. I have always wanted to co-lead this with Jeremy. I think we should have a co-leader structure because that represents the diversity and the broadness of our movement, bringing together loads of people. And it's such an exciting offer. That's what people signed up to. The 800,000 people expressed an interest. So those founding documents will be redrafted and presented, and I want those to have a co-leader structure in those. But if members vote for a singular leadership structure, then that's up to them.
I think there's advantages to both. Obviously, the Scottish Greens use a dual leadership structure, and you tend to end up with one being maybe more the primary co-leader, as it were. And the Greens in England and Wales have almost moved away from that now. They've got just Zach. So yeah, we'll have to see where the party goes on that. In terms of standing for Holyrood, then. My colleague Lucy spoke to Professor John Curtis, who you all know, the eminent polling expert, earlier today, And he told her that your party faces a bit more of a challenge north of the border than it does south of the border. I think they're polling at about half the rate as they are south of the border. He said that will be polling lower in Scotland because nobody quite knows where they will stand on the constitution. So the constitution is just such an important thing in Scottish politics. Is just standing on the sidelines and saying we'll let people vote with their conscience going to be enough, or does your party need to take a stand on?
So I wouldn't tell what our Welsh members should say when it comes to constitutional questions. I wouldn't say it to Scottish members either. That is for Scotland to decide. And so what I do think is important is that Westminster shouldn't have a veto, that the Scottish Parliament should decide on the timing of a referendum. Those things I think are incredibly important. But whether your party supports independence or doesn't support independence is literally the decision of members to decide. And that is what autonomy really looks like and has to be. It is not appropriate for anyone who isn't living in Scotland, isn't working, isn't studying in Scotland to be, saying that it should be yes to independence or no to independence. I believe in the principle of self-determination, and I apply that consistently everywhere.
So, but the party will have a position going into the 20
decided by members.
Yeah. But it won't be this kind of like, well, whatever Scots won. It will be going into 2026, we support independence or we support an independence referendum or we
exactly
or anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess we just have to wait for clarity on that one. Let's move down to Westminster instead. I just wanted to bring up one kind of incident. I think this happened late last week, but it's kind of rolled on to this week, specifically the Express correspondent Christian Calgie. He called for you to be deported on social media in your quite, I don't know quite the word to use for it, but response. You called him a snivelling lackey, amongst other things.
That was me watering down my language.
He then took a few days off.
For his mental health, apparently.
For his mental health, yeah, it must be extremely trying calling for people to be deported.
And not a consideration for their mental health and the abuse that they're getting and how many people are calling for them to be deported.
Yeah. So when he did come back, he thanked everyone who had been in touch offering support. And then he said that included figures from government to opposition. So the clear implication here is that Labour ministers, maybe slightly lower down, parliamentary private secretaries or something, have been getting in touch with Christian Calgie, saying like we're supporting you through this try.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting, and it shows you how our media class and our politicians are rotten to the core. And there is the Zone 2 dinner parties where everyone's mates and everyone hangs out together. You can see how that plays out, because surely in that context where a journalist, a so-called journalist, a member of the lobby in my workplace, he's there, is supporting calls for me to be deported, and rather than showing solidarity with one of their colleagues, an MP, the solidarity is with a journalist who has made those insightful remarks, which is a danger. I have really high levels of security, and I'm very conscious of my own safety wherever I go, and the levels of abuse and the amount of times I have to contact the police about this is shocking to people when they realise how often that happens. And so that kind of behaviour and I guess the fact that Christian Calgie let us in and showed us what was happening behind closed doors, because we all know this is what happens, is, I think it speaks to just how rotten our media class and our politicians are, and we have to call it out.
So we spoke last year, was it? I can't even remember now. We've spoken previously for a story we did in the Sunday National, an interview with yourself, and you said at the time that you had been experiencing huge levels of abuse, both on social media and kind of the wider world. And there had been really no support offered to you from the Labour Party that you were in previously. Have you heard anything from anyone that you used to be kind of colleagues with in Labour?
I still have friends on the Labour left, and people will show their solidarity with me. But what we see from this government is that the fish rots from the head. and the rhetoric around immigration, the suspending of family reunifications, the language, the fascistic language that Keir Starmer used when he said we are an island of strangers, echoing Enoch Powell. You can see how that plays itself into these interpersonal behaviors as well. And this government is essentially rolling out the red carpet for a Farage government. And that is a frightening concept to so many of us. But this government in power, with a huge parliamentary majority on a record low vote share, what has it done with that power? And some of your listeners might say nothing. Actually, it's worse than nothing. They have voted through austerity. They have kept the 2-child benefit cap. They have attacked elderly pensioners and they will run to fuel payments. They have attacked disabled people and disability benefits, and they have gaslit the entire nation around their complicity and how they have directly enabled genocide in Gaza. They tell us they have suspended arms sales. They continue to sell components for F-35s. They continue to roll out the red carpet for Israeli war criminals. They continue to deny that a genocide is taking place. And that's why people are sick of politics as usual, because that means their lives continue to get worse and poverty and inequality grow. And people want politicians to just say things as they are and provide them with hope and unify people around a positive vision, which is about making their lives better. People don't want more culture wars. They don't want attacks on trans people. They don't want migrants to be attacked. They don't want Muslims, minorities, disabled people to be attacked. And our media keeps doing that. It's drip-fed this poison that we now see in far-right mobilizations across the country, which make people really unsafe. And so we have to fight against that. And that is about unifying people, saying we have a vision for society that is more equal, where the billionaires don't run the show and politicians aren't in their pockets. And I think people are really inspired by that.
So yeah, just to wrap up then, we'll talk about something a bit less serious. We'll just kind of ask you a few kind of more fun questions, hopefully try and get to know you a bit more, less the kind of political side and more kind of human side. One thing I would like to know is, if you were not in politics, what job could you see yourself doing?
I've thought about this. I would be a teacher. I love going into schools. I love talking about politics. I just think teachers are incredible, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support that I had from teachers that I grew up with. So, yeah.
Did you have one teacher in specific?
So many. If any of them are listening, I would not want to pick one because I'm still in contact with so many of them.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm not gonna play that game.
Yeah, I don't think I've been in contact with any of my teachers.
I've been to weddings. I've been to they stay in contact. They reach out. It's lovely.
Oh, mine were kicking me out the door.
I was a teacher's pet. Truly, it's not something that gives me any cool points or anything. It's just the truth.
Yeah, fair enough. In terms of your free time, then, what books have you been reading recently? Yeah, let's not stay non-fiction.
No, I wish I could tell you I've been reading a book. I have not. I have spent any time that I've had not in Parliament, not in the constituency, not doing rallies. I've been watching Married at First Sight. Oh, I bloody love it.
The Australian one?
No, the UK one.
Oh, I haven't seen a single episode.
No, it's so good. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. The Glasgow Times team watch it quite a lot, so I do hear about it.
I'm like the missionary. I'm just telling everyone to watch Max. Yeah, Max. I'm like, no, Max. Yeah. Married at First Sight.
Like Rishi Sunak, but
no, yeah.
He loves maths, I think.
Yeah, at different time.
Right? Yeah. What about music then? You must have time to put some headphones in. What albums have you been listening to this year?
My Spotify is chaotic. I'm a big fan of Sam Fender. I listen to a lot of Lewis Capaldi. What else? I want to grab out my phone. What else am I listening to? A lot of nostalgic 90s music. I'm a pop girly.
Yeah.
I love Jade Thirlwall. I'm a big fan of Joy Crooks. There's so many amazing people out there.
She's been really doing well recently, Joy Crooks.
Yeah.
I've been listening to her.
She's great.
It's really, really good. Yeah, fantastic.
You're going to get me in trouble because there's so many people that I should have never been there.
Well, I thought you were going to say Bella Ciao or something like that.
Yeah, that as well, because we can have both. We can do both.
Yeah. So one final thing then. What about movies? You've watched any good movies recently?
So I am watching a lot of old movies that I didn't grow up watching, whether that's The Matrix.
An old movie, isn't that like 99?
Yeah, but I didn't watch it growing up.
Wow,
So I'm watching a lot of new stuff. Sorry, old stuff, but when it's newly released again because they bring it back. I should check my letterbox. What else have I been watching? This is really embarrassing. You put me on the spot.
It's okay. It's good that you finally got around to watching The Matrix.
I need to watch Matrix too.
Oh,
People are, as convinced as this.
No.
I need to come back to you. Can I get out my letterbox?
No, it's fine. So we will leave it there. Just some silly questions to wrap it up. But thanks so much for your time today, Zarah, and good luck with the rally this afternoon or this evening. And good luck getting together a candidate slate for the elections next year. Thanks everyone at home for watching the National Podcast. More episodes will be coming in future. I don't really know how to wrap that up.